At the farthest edge of the Galactic Empire's mapped space, beyond the usual patrol routes and communication arrays, a lone scout ship detected an anomaly. The ship's sensors picked up a faint energy signature drifting silently against the backdrop of stars. It was unlike anything they had seen before, neither the flicker of a natural celestial body nor the predictable energy patterns of common spacecraft. Commander Rel, a veteran officer with decades of experience, stared at the screen aboard the Vanguard, his brow furrowed. "What is that?" he muttered, barely able to believe what the ship's sensors were showing. The crew buzzed with anticipation as the Vanguard altered course, moving cautiously toward the strange object. On the view screen appeared the outline of a massive vessel, sleek and angular, yet strangely organic in design. It drifted silently, its hull gleaming faintly under distant starlight. The ship was unmistakably human, bearing markings from a civilization believed extinct for over 2 centuries. Lieutenant Saren, the ship's science officer, leaned forward, eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and disbelief. "Commander, it's a human vessel, but it doesn't match any historical records. This technology, it's unlike anything in our archives." The Vanguard moved closer, the human ship's hull revealing intricate patterns of alloy and plating that shimmered with a soft, almost ethereal glow. The sensors showed no signs of power drain or structural decay. It was as if the ship was still, alive, waiting. Rel's voice was steady, but inside he felt a surge of excitement and unease. "Prepare boarding teams. We're bringing it in for study. This could change everything we know about the humans and their technology." Within hours, the Vanguard's engineers began remote stabilization procedures. The ancient ship responded instantly, systems powering on with fluid precision. The Empire's technology worked hard to keep up, but the human ship's controls defied standard interfaces. Screens flickered to life, displaying symbols and diagrams that shifted dynamically, impossible to fully capture or translate. A team of specialists led by Captain Lyra was dispatched to board the vessel. Inside, they found corridors lined with smooth surfaces that seemed to pulse faintly under their touch. The air was clean and breathable, recycled with a subtle scent that no one could identify. It was not cold and mechanical, but almost alive, as if the ship itself was a sentient being. Lyra's team discovered control rooms filled with panels that responded to their presence without buttons or switches. Instead, the interfaces shifted, as if sensing thought patterns or emotions. Even the artificial gravity fluctuated subtly, adapting to the team's movements. It was technology that did not demand commands. It anticipated needs. As the engineers explored deeper, they uncovered weapon systems unlike any they had seen. Instead of traditional energy cannons or projectile weapons, the ship seemed to manipulate space itself. A demonstration in the training bay stunned everyone. With a quiet hum, a section of space warped and bent, disabling electronic systems. In the surrounding area, without a shot fired. Back aboard the Vanguard, the Empire's top scientists gathered. They pored over data streams from the human ship, their expressions growing increasingly puzzled. The ship's power source emitted no known energy signature. It did not consume fuel or generate waste. It simply existed, eternal and stable. Dr. Varek, the Empire's lead physicist, shook his head in frustration. "It's as if the technology runs on principles beyond our understanding. We have no theory that can explain these systems. It's alien, even though it's human." The council quickly convened, debating what the discovery meant. For centuries, humanity had been written off as a species lost to time and conflict. Now, their technology returned, defying every expectation. The Empire faced the possibility that humans had evolved science in ways far beyond their own. Meanwhile, rumors began to spread through the Vanguard's crew and the wider fleet. Whispers of human ingenuity and resilience ignited hope and fear alike. Some viewed the discovery as a threat, proof that humans could rise again to challenge the Empire's supremacy. Others saw a chance for advancement, a new chapter in galactic progress. Commander Rel watched the horizon, the distant stars seeming to hold secrets now reopened. The ship in his hands was more than a relic. It was a key, and with it, the Empire's understanding of technology, power, and perhaps even itself would be forever changed. Back on the Vanguard, the atmosphere was thick with a mixture of excitement and tension. The Empire's top scientists and engineers worked around the clock, attempting to peel back the layers of the ancient human ship systems. Yet, with every breakthrough came new mysteries. Lieutenant Saren, the science officer, stood before a glowing console displaying real-time diagnostics. Despite the overwhelming amount of data pouring in, the systems refused to make sense by any known logic. "Our instruments show no conventional power source," Saren explained to Captain Lyra, who watched intently. "No fusion reactors, no antimatter cores, nothing we've cataloged. Yet the ship is fully operational. It's drawing energy from something else." Dr. Varric, the Empire's leading physicist, ran his fingers through his thinning hair as he reviewed the sensor readings. "It's as if the ship taps directly into the fabric of space-time itself. The technology is manipulating quantum fields at a scale we cannot model." The more they studied, the more the ship's defenses became apparent. The weapon systems didn't fire projectiles or beams. Instead, they created localized distortions, waves of space-time that could disrupt enemy ships' electronics without causing physical damage. When the engineers attempted to mimic these effects, their systems overloaded and shut down. "It's a weapon and a shield combined," Varric said quietly. "But it's not just about destruction. It's about control, over the environment, over reality itself." Meanwhile, the ship's AI interface remained enigmatic. Attempts to communicate through standard protocols resulted in abstract responses, fragments of code that resembled poetry or riddles rather than commands. Saren tried a different approach. She engaged the AI using patterns of emotion and intuition, rather than logic. The interface flickered, then slowly began to respond with symbols that suggested understanding. The room fell silent as the crew realized they were witnessing something unprecedented, a machine that seemed to think beyond algorithms. The Empire's leadership grew increasingly eager to harness the technology. General Mako, a seasoned military strategist, arrived aboard the Vanguard to oversee the operation. "We can't afford to let this technology remain a mystery," he declared. "If the humans develop this level of power, we must unlock it before any rival faction does." "Captain," Lyra felt the weight of responsibility. "General, we're making progress, but this technology doesn't respond to brute force analysis. It requires patience, and perhaps a new way of thinking." Mako's jaw tightened. "Time is not on our side. We need results now." As days turned into weeks, the Vanguard's crew discovered new marvels within the ship. The hull adapted to damage, repairing itself with a fluidity that seemed almost biological. The life support systems could recycle and synthesize resources at unprecedented rates, allowing the ship to sustain itself indefinitely. Yet, for all its wonders, the technology remained elusive. The Empire's scientists could describe its functions, but not replicate them. Every attempt to build similar devices failed spectacularly. One evening, as the Vanguard orbited a nearby star, a breakthrough came unexpectedly. Saren noticed a subtle change in the AI interface, a pattern of lights that resembled a heartbeat. She shared her observation with the engineering team. "That's it," she said. "The ship's systems might be linked to a form of artificial life. It's not just a machine. It's alive." The idea sent ripples through the scientific community. If the ship was a living entity, then its technology was more than hardware and software. It was a dynamic organism evolving alongside its environment. Captain Lyra convened a meeting. "We've uncovered something profound. This isn't just lost human technology. It's a legacy of their understanding of life, science, and harmony. We're dealing with a form of intelligence that blends machine and biology. General Mako listened, his expression unreadable. If that's true, it changes everything. But it also makes this technology even more dangerous, because we don't control it. Tensions within the crew rose. Some wanted to continue probing aggressively, seeking immediate advantages. Others, like Lyra and Saren, urged caution and respect for the unknown. Amid the debate, the Vanguard received a transmission, an encrypted message embedded deep within the AI's core. It was fragmented and difficult to interpret, but its tone was clear. A warning. "Do not awaken what you do not understand," it said. The room fell silent. Captain Lyra stared at the message, feeling the weight of centuries. Humanity's technology was a masterpiece of creativity and caution, designed to survive and protect, but also to challenge those who sought to control it without wisdom. As the Empire stood at the crossroads of discovery and conquest, the mystery of human technology deepened. It was no longer a prize to be taken. It was a puzzle to be solved, a force that demanded new thinking and new respect. And in the quiet corners of the Vanguard, the ancient human ship waited patiently, its secrets, ready to change the fate of the galaxy. The Vanguard was now a hive of activity, its crew divided between fascination and frustration. Despite all efforts, the core of the human ship's technology remained a riddle. The Empire's experts were masters of logic and calculation. Yet, the human systems seemed to evade even their most rigorous scrutiny. Dr. Varric sat alone in the lab, staring at streams of data flickering on the holographic display. Every equation, every simulation failed to fully model the ship's behavior. It was as if the human technology operated on principles beyond rigid laws of physics, principles more fluid, more dynamic. He thought back to the archives, the records of ancient human civilization, fragmented and often contradictory. For all their achievements, humans were known for unpredictability, for adapting to the unexpected, and for their refusal to be constrained by strict rules. Their science was not just formula and structure, it was infused with creativity and intuition. Lyra had noticed this as well. During a briefing, she had remarked, "Their technology doesn't just compute, it learns, it senses, adapts, and even anticipates. It's almost as if it's alive." But what did that mean? Was the Empire ready to embrace a technology that challenged everything they believed about control and power? Meanwhile, tensions among the crew rose. Some officers grew impatient, demanding more direct results and weapons to use in the field. Others, including Saren and a small group of engineers, believed the key was in understanding the human mindset behind the technology. Saren proposed a radical idea. Instead of analyzing the systems with pure logic, why not try to interact with them through intuition and creativity? It was a method unheard of in Empire science, but aligned with the human approach hinted at by the AI's enigmatic behavior. Lyra supported the experiment. If we're to understand this ship, we have to think like its creators. That means breaking our old habits. The first attempt was cautious. Saren approached the AI interface with an open mind, engaging with its symbols and patterns as if they were an art form rather than data. She let her thoughts wander, following the shifting symbols without forcing meaning. To everyone's surprise, the interface responded. The shifting patterns settled into recognizable sequences, revealing glimpses of the ship's internal state, and even its history. The AI projected a holographic image of a star system, then zoomed in on a planet orbiting a dying sun. The scene showed humans evacuating, sending their technology into space to survive and learn. The message was clear. The ship was a guardian of a lost legacy, carrying the hope of humanity forward. Dr. Varric watched, fascinated. It's a story told not through words but through understanding. The technology is a bridge between the past and the future, alive because it carries human creativity and spirit. But the breakthrough also brought new questions. Why had humanity's technology been so advanced, yet their species so vulnerable? How had they achieved this balance of science and imagination? One night, as Saren continued her interactions, the AI revealed a new layer, a series of equations and algorithms that defied the Empire's standard logic but suggested a new form of problem-solving, one based on flexibility and continuous adaptation. "This is a form of intelligence we've never encountered," Saren explained. "It's not fixed or deterministic. It evolves with use, almost like a living organism learning from experience." Word of the discovery spread quickly, igniting excitement and anxiety. Many envied the possibilities but feared losing control over a technology that seemed to think for itself. General Mako remained skeptical. "This is dangerous. Machines that learn and adapt could turn against us. We need to impose order or risk chaos," Lyra responded firmly. "Or we could learn from them. Maybe human technology isn't meant to be controlled, but to inspire change in how we think." Amid the debate, Saren's experiments continued. The AI began to respond not only to patterns, but to emotional cues. It recognized empathy and curiosity, adjusting its responses accordingly. The ship's systems slowly opened up, sharing insights into their functions and limitations. One day, a new message arrived. Not a warning this time, but a question. The AI seemed to be asking the Empire, "Are you ready to evolve?" The question echoed through the halls of the Vanguard, challenging everyone aboard. Could the Empire embrace the unpredictable, the creative, the alive? Or would they cling to their rigid doctrines and lose the chance for transformation? Captain Lyra stood on the observation deck, gazing out at the distant stars. The human ship was no longer just a relic. It was a teacher, offering a path forward through the unknown. And somewhere deep inside, the Vanguard's crew began to sense a new truth, that the greatest genius of human technology wasn't its machines. It was the spirit behind them. The discovery of the human ship sent ripples far beyond the Vanguard. Back on the Empire's capital world, news of the breakthrough stirred both awe and alarm. The elite council chambers buzzed with whispered conversations, shadowed glances, and subtle power plays. High Chancellor Durak sat at the head of the council table, his expression unreadable as advisors debated the implications. For centuries, the Empire had ruled the stars with unwavering confidence, yet this ancient human technology threatened to upend their carefully maintained order. "This technology could elevate us beyond our current limits," argued Minister Jeline, a fierce advocate for aggressive expansion. "Imagine weapons that disable entire fleets without a shot fired. Imagine ships that repair themselves in battle. We cannot let this power slip away." Durak nodded slowly, but spoke with caution. "Power without understanding is a danger, not a prize. Our scientists have struggled to control it. If we rush, we risk disaster." Meanwhile, a quieter faction in the council favored secrecy. They feared that revealing the technology to the wider empire could spark unrest or give rivals an edge. "We must control the flow of information," warned Councillor Wren. "If others learn we've found human tech, factions will rise to seize it. We risk civil war before we even understand it ourselves." Outside the council chambers, the Empire's intelligence network was already humming. Agents were dispatched to monitor the Vanguard and the scientists studying the ship. Rumors began to spread, fueling intrigue and suspicion. On the Vanguard, tensions mirrored those in the capital. General Mako pushed for rapid weaponization. "We cannot afford patience," he insisted. "Our rivals will not hesitate to use this technology against us." Captain Lyra and Lieutenant Saren argued for a more measured approach. "We must understand the technology first," Saren said firmly. "Rushing will only lead to mistakes, and possibly destruction. Mako's response was cold. This is war. Hesitation is death. As factions within the vanguard clashed, an unexpected visitor arrived, Ambassador Kale, a diplomat with ties to the Empire's secret council. His presence signaled the growing political stakes. Kale's voice was calm but firm. The council expects results. They want progress, and they want it soon. Your mission is no longer just exploration. It is statecraft and strategy. The arrival of Kale intensified the pressure on the crew. Meetings grew more frequent and tense. Scientists who had once worked freely found themselves scrutinized, their work politicized. In a rare moment of quiet, Lyra confided in Saren. This isn't just about technology anymore. It's about power, control, and fear. The Empire wants to dominate, not understand. Saren nodded, her eyes reflecting the weight of their task. But the human ship resists domination. It demands respect. Amid the turmoil, a breakthrough came, not from the scientists or the generals, but from an unlikely source. Jalen, a junior technician with a talent for pattern recognition, discovered a hidden data cache within the ship's AI. The cache contained fragments of human culture, stories, art, and philosophy encoded alongside the technology. It was a reminder that the ship was more than a tool. It was a vessel of humanity's soul. Jalen shared his findings with Saren and Lyra. They didn't just build machines, he said quietly. They built legacies. The revelation shifted the mood aboard the Vanguard. The technology was no longer just a weapon or a mystery. It was a connection to a lost civilization that had valued creativity and compassion as much as strength. Yet, outside, the Empire's factions grew more restless. News leaked of the hidden data, sparking debate across the capital. Some saw it as proof that humanity's downfall was due to weakness. Others argued it was a sign that the Empire needed to evolve. High Chancellor Durack faced a difficult decision. Should he clamp down on the secret, keep the technology tightly controlled, or allow the Vanguard's crew to continue their work freely, risking political fallout? As the council convened for a decisive vote, spies and saboteurs moved in the shadows, eager to tilt the balance. Back aboard the Vanguard, Captain Lyra stood before her crew, sensing the storm ahead. We're on the edge of something greater than any of us imagined. This isn't just about technology or power. It's about the future of the Empire. The human ship pulsed quietly beneath her feet, its mysteries waiting patiently to be revealed. The choices made in the coming days would shape the destiny of countless worlds, and somewhere deep within the AI's core, a silent question echoed. Will they choose wisdom over conquest? Tensions on the Vanguard reached a boiling point. General Mako's calls for rapid weaponization clashed openly with Captain Lyra's insistence on caution. Meanwhile, Ambassador Kyle's presence added an invisible pressure, reminding the crew that their every move was being watched and judged. But amid the conflict, a quiet revolution was unfolding. Saren had spent countless hours interacting with the human ship's AI, slowly learning its rhythms and patterns. She realized that the Empire's traditional scientific methods were hitting a wall because they ignored something fundamental: creativity. The humans had not built machines as tools alone. They had forged extensions of their own imagination. One evening, alone in the ship's control chamber, Saren sat cross-legged before the glowing interface. Instead of commanding or probing, she began to experiment. She let her mind wander, tracing patterns in the shifting symbols, allowing intuition to guide her fingers. At first, the AI responded with subtle shifts, colors changing, shapes reforming. Then, unexpectedly, the interface began to produce new patterns that Saren had not seen before. It was as if the ship was collaborating, expanding on her thoughts. Excited, Saren called Captain Lyra and a few trusted engineers to witness the moment. "Look at this," Saren said, pointing to the display. It's not just responding, it's creating, building something new with me. Lyra's eyes widened. This is unprecedented. The AI isn't just a system, it's a partner. The crew gathered around as Saren continued to explore the interactive patterns. The human ship seemed to be teaching them a different way of thinking, one that embraced flexibility, curiosity, and even playfulness. Dr. Varric, initially skeptical, was drawn in. This aligns with what we've found in the archives. Humanity's greatest strength was not their technology alone, but their ability to imagine possibilities beyond existing knowledge. The breakthrough sparked a change aboard the Vanguard. Engineers began experimenting not just with data, but with art, music, and storytelling, using these human expressions as a new language to communicate with the ship. General Mako watched these developments with growing unease. "We're wasting time," he growled during a tense council briefing. "This isn't war. We don't have the luxury to experiment with feelings and art." But the crew's success was undeniable. Systems, once locked away, began to open. The ship's self-repair mechanisms improved dramatically, healing minor damage within minutes. Defensive fields became adaptive, shifting to counter new threats almost instinctively. Then came a moment that shocked everyone. During a simulation exercise, the ship projected a holographic scene of a human settlement flourishing amid adversity. The image was not just historical, it was alive with emotion, hope, and struggle. The AI shared stories of human resilience, creativity born from hardship, and the power of collaboration. Lyra realized that the ship's technology was deeply connected to the human experience. It was a living archive of their spirit, encoded in ways the Empire's rigid science had overlooked. Human technology is not just about machines, Lyra told her crew. It's about the qualities that built those machines: creativity, empathy, and adaptability. Word of the breakthrough reached the Empire's capital. Some council members were intrigued, but many remained skeptical. The conservative faction, led by Councillor Rin, warned against what they called soft thinking, infiltrating military science. But others began to see the potential. Minister Jeline, who had pushed for aggressive use of the technology, began advocating for a new approach, one that combined Empire strength with human creativity. Back on the Vanguard, Saren's work deepened. The AI responded to emotional cues, recognizing trust and collaboration. It even began suggesting modifications to the ship's systems, improvements that no Empire engineer had considered. It was as if the human ship had become a teacher and a partner, guiding its new caretakers to think beyond formulas and equations. But the question remained: would the Empire embrace this new path, or reject it in favor of familiar control? Captain Lyra stood before the crew, feeling the weight of the moment. "This ship challenges us not just to unlock its technology, but to unlock ourselves," she said. "The future isn't just about power, it's about imagination." In the quiet that followed, the human ship pulsed softly, as if acknowledging her words. The spark of creativity had been lit. As the Vanguard drifted silently through a remote sector of space, the atmosphere aboard the ship was thick with anticipation and unease. The spark of creativity that Saren had ignited was spreading, reshaping the way the crew approached their mission. Yet the Empire's deep-rooted traditions resisted this change. Captain Lyra stood on the observation deck, staring out at the swirling cosmos. The stars seemed endless, a vast tapestry of unknown possibilities. And yet, here they were, caught between the certainty of the past and the uncertainty of the future. "Change is never easy," Lyra murmured to herself. Inside the command center, the tension was palpable. General Mako's impatience had grown into open defiance. He openly challenged Lyra's leadership, arguing that the Empire's strength came from discipline, order, and control, not from abstract ideas like creativity and empathy. We're not children playing with toys, Mako snapped during a heated meeting. We need weapons, strategy, and dominance. This collaboration with a machine is a distraction. But Saren and the engineers pushed back. The technology itself is alive, adaptive, Saren explained calmly. Trying to force it into our rigid systems only limits what we can achieve. The crew was divided. Some officers clung to traditional views, fearing that embracing human creativity meant losing control. Others embraced the new vision, inspired by the AI's partnership and the possibilities it offered. Ambassador Kale watched the conflict quietly. When he finally spoke, his voice carried weight. The Empire stands at a crossroads. We can cling to old certainties and risk stagnation, or we can embrace evolution and face the unknown. His words were a reminder that the stakes went beyond. The Vanguard, they affected the entire Empire. Meanwhile, the human ship itself seemed to sense the discord. The AI's responses became more nuanced, sometimes hesitant, as if struggling to reconcile conflicting energies aboard. One night, Saren sat alone with the interface, speaking softly. We're trying to understand, not control. We want to learn, not conquer. The AI responded with a gentle cascade of light, forming symbols that suggested harmony and balance. The next day, a breakthrough came during a training exercise. The ship's defense systems, now tuned through the collaborative approach, adapted fluidly to simulated attacks. They neutralized threats without destruction, disabling enemy systems while preserving life. The crew watched in awe as the ship's technology demonstrated not just power but wisdom. Captain Lyra seized the moment. "This is what we've been missing," she told her officers. "Strength tempered with understanding, power guided by respect." But General Mako was unconvinced. "This is soft. In real conflict, the weak are crushed." Lyra met his gaze, steadily. "And the strong survive by adapting, by learning." The debate echoed through the ship and the Empire. The Council on the Capital World grew restless, divided between hawks demanding immediate militarization and reformers urging caution and deeper study. High Chancellor Durak convened an emergency session. "We face a choice: to use this technology as a blunt weapon or to unlock its full potential. The path we choose will define the Empire's future." As the Council deliberated, the Vanguard continued its mission. The crew's experiment with human creativity blossomed. They developed new communication methods with the AI, using music, visual art, and metaphor to express ideas that defied logical description. The ship responded by unlocking more systems: environmental controls that cultivated rare plants, medical bays that healed wounds at unprecedented speeds, and navigation that could anticipate cosmic phenomena. The human ship was revealing itself as a symphony of science and soul. Yet, amid the progress, a new threat emerged. Sensors detected an unidentified fleet approaching the Vanguard sector. The ships bore the markings of a rival faction, eager to seize the human technology for their own purposes. The Empire's leadership demanded immediate action. General Mako prepared to engage with overwhelming force, but Captain Lyra hesitated. "If we fight like before, we lose what makes this technology unique. We need a new strategy, one that blends power with the lessons we've learned." The crew braced for the coming encounter, knowing that their choices would not only decide the fate of the Vanguard, but could change the course of the Empire forever. The challenge of change was no longer theoretical. It was real, imminent, and unavoidable, and deep within the ancient ship, the AI pulsed with quiet resolve, ready to face whatever came next. The warning sirens blared through the Vanguard's corridors, their echoes rattling the nerves of the crew. The unidentified fleet was closing fast, sleek warships cutting through the void with purpose and precision. The rival faction's intent was clear: seize the human technology, no matter the cost. Captain Lyra stood firm on the bridge, her gaze locked on the approaching fleet's formation. The weight of command pressed down on her shoulders. This was more than a battle. It was a test of everything the Vanguard had become. General Mako, grim and resolute, paced beside her. "We hit them hard and fast," he growled. "Show them the Empire's strength." Lyra shook her head. "We're not just the Empire anymore. We're the guardians of something new. If we fight as before, we lose what makes us strong." Saren stepped forward, her eyes bright with determination. "The AI has been helping us adapt. It can anticipate their tactics, but we have to trust it, and ourselves." As the enemy fleet opened fire, the Vanguard responded not with raw power, but with subtle grace. Energy fields shimmered and shifted, absorbing blasts and redirecting them harmlessly into space. Defensive drones emerged like swarms of fireflies, disabling enemy weapon systems without destruction. The rival ships faltered, confused by the Vanguard's unconventional tactics. Their aggressive strikes met with fluid, adaptive countermeasures that seemed to anticipate every move. Within the ship's AI core, a complex symphony of signals flowed between human and machine, weaving together strategy and intuition. The crew communicated with the ship through patterns of light, sound, and emotion, a dialogue impossible in any traditional command structure. General Mako watched in disbelief as the Vanguard danced around the enemy fleet, striking precise, non-lethal blows that dismantled weapons and communications. "This isn't war," he muttered. "It's something else." Lyra's voice was calm but resolute. "It's survival through understanding, not destruction." As the battle raged, the Vanguard's AI projected a new holographic message, an ancient human greeting encoded in symbolic art and music. The enemy fleet's command center intercepted it, causing confusion. The message spoke of peace, resilience, and shared destiny. Some enemy captains hesitated, their resolve shaken by the unexpected communication. For the first time, questions arose. Could this technology, this ancient legacy, offer more than conquest? In the midst of the fight, the Vanguard sent a small delegation to the enemy flagship via teleportation. Saren, Ambassador Kyle, and a few skilled negotiators. They carried not weapons, but words and symbols, offering dialogue instead of destruction. The tense meeting was fraught with suspicion, but the human technology's message was clear. It spoke of cooperation, of learning together rather than tearing each other apart. Slowly, the rival commanders began to listen. Back on the Vanguard, the battle slowed as enemy ships powered down weapons and lowered shields. The rival fleet's leader stepped forward, speaking through the translators. "We have sought power through domination, but this is different. You wield technology with wisdom and respect. Perhaps there is a new path." Captain Lyra nodded. "The human ship teaches us that strength and creativity can coexist, that our future lies not in conquest, but in collaboration." The enemy commander hesitated, then extended a tentative offer of alliance. It was a fragile first step, but a monumental one. General Mako remained silent, conflicted between his desire for victory and the undeniable truth unfolding before him. As the rival fleet retreated peacefully, the Vanguard's crew exhaled collectively. The battle had been won without bloodshed, a victory not of force, but of understanding. Captain Lyra turned to her team. "Today, we proved that the Empire can evolve, that the legacy of humanity is not just technology, but the spirit behind it." Saren smiled, the weight of the moment settling in. "This is just the beginning." Deep within the ship, the AI pulsed with quiet satisfaction. The ancient technology had found new purpose, not as a weapon of war, but as a bridge between worlds. The stars outside glittered like promises, and the vanguard sailed onward, carrying the hope of a transformed empire, the battle behind them. The vanguard moved forward into uncharted space, its course no longer dictated by fear or rigid orders, but by curiosity and hope. Captain Lyra stood once again on the observation deck, watching distant stars pulse in the vast darkness. The galaxy felt different now, full of possibility. The political landscape within the Empire was shifting as well. News of the Vanguard's peaceful victory spread rapidly, shaking the foundations of tradition. The High Chancellor convened a special session of the Imperial Council, where voices previously drowned out by hawkish demands began to rise. Minister Jeline spoke passionately. "We have seen proof that the future is not ruled by sheer force, but by understanding and creativity. This ancient human technology is a beacon guiding us beyond the limits of old thinking." Councillor Rin, who once feared chaos from embracing such change, now proposed reforms to open the Empire's scientific institutions to new ideas, art, philosophy, and emotion alongside logic. High Chancellor Durak, observing the tides of change, addressed the Assembly. "We stand at the dawn of a new era. The legacy of humanity has reminded us that strength is more than weapons and laws. It is the courage to evolve." Back on the Vanguard, Saren and her team continued deepening their bond with the ship's AI. Together, they unlocked more layers of the technology, advanced medical systems that could cure diseases once thought incurable, environmental modules that recreated entire ecosystems, and communication methods that transcended language. The ship became a living laboratory, a place where science and art intertwined seamlessly. Yet with progress came challenges. The transition was not without resistance. Some factions within the Empire resisted the changes, clinging to old power structures and fearing the uncertainty that innovation brought. Captain Lyra understood these fears. "Change challenges us all," she told her crew. "But we must remember that the human technology we serve was born of trial and error, of risk and imagination." One day, as the Vanguard explored a vibrant nebula rich with unknown elements, the AI revealed a final message, an encrypted transmission from the original human creators. It was a call to future generations, a plea to guard not just their technology, but their ideals. "In the vastness of the stars, let curiosity be your compass and compassion your guide. Build bridges where there are walls. Create where there is destruction. The future belongs to those who dare to dream." The message resonated deeply. The crew felt the weight of responsibility and the hope it carried. Captain Lyra gathered her officers. "We are no longer just explorers or soldiers. We are stewards of a legacy that transcends time and space. Our mission is to share what we've learned, to help the Empire and the galaxy grow." General Mako, once the fiercest skeptic, stood beside her, quieter but changed. "I still don't fully understand this path," he admitted, "but I see its power. Perhaps strength and creativity are not enemies but allies. Together, they prepared to send the human technology's knowledge back to the Empire, not as weapons or secrets, but as gifts of possibility." As the Vanguard sailed onward, its ancient engines humming with a mix of science and spirit, the galaxy itself seemed to respond. New alliances formed, old conflicts softened, and a cautious optimism spread. The human ship had become more than a relic. It was a symbol of transformation, a testament that even in a vast and often unforgiving universe, the spark of creativity and hope could light the way. Captain Lyra looked once more at the stars, feeling a quiet certainty. The Empire's future was unwritten, full of challenges and promise alike. But one thing was clear. The true genius of human technology was not in the machines themselves, but in the courage to dream beyond what was known. And with that courage, a new dawn was rising.